Buenos dias, Grant, and thank you for joining us today at Business Spotlight Series. Today, I'm excited to introduce Grant Keenan, owner of the award-winning UK food waste collections and recycling company, Keenan Recycling. Welcome, Grant.
Buenos dias. Great to be here.
Very nice accent. Great, Grant. Well, it's you've got a formidable story, very interesting, and we would like to know a bit more about your journey and what it takes to run a business and your own experience for all those people watching this recording. So my first question is, how did you get into this industry?
So I suppose I kind of stumbled into it. I had a fuel business originally, importing peat briquettes, bottles of gas, paraffin, logs, kindling, fire lighters, all the things you see in garage forecourts. And then in the summer, I started selling garden bark. I realised that there was more of a margin in the bark business, so I sold the fuel business to a company called Northeast Fuels. And with the money I made from that, I bought some machinery to recycle garden bark, particularly to grade it and take the sticks out. And in 2001, I approached Aberdeenshire Council to see if they wanted to hire it. Turned out that they didn't, but as I was leaving the yard, there was a pile of garden waste in the corner. That was grass cuttings, tree prunings, and just making conversation. I said, "What do you do with that?" And they said, "We landfill it." And I thought that seems like a bit of a waste of a resource, and I knew a little bit about composting. So I went back to them and I said, "Look, why don't you send it to me and I'll compost it and I'll do it for half what it costs you to go to landfill." And that was how I kind of got into the recycling industry.
Brilliant, excellent. You said before that earlier when we were talking, you've always been self-employed from the age of 19.
Yeah.
You've always done, very entrepreneurial person. Is that something that you are born with?
It's hard to say, really. When I was at school, I was always kind of had little sideline businesses, buying and selling clothes and stuff like that. My parents weren't entrepreneurs at that time. They were in employment. I was never particularly academically gifted. I didn't ever think I'm going to go to university or anything like that. I was quite hungry. I wanted to leave school more or less. Well, I stayed on and did, I've got 3 hires, so I didn't leave at 16. But I wanted to get out and make some money early on. So I'm not really sure where it comes from. It's not really in the family.
Okay, very good, very interesting. Now, tell us, what's you were before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID. How did COVID affect the business? Do you have to pivot it in any way?
It was terrible. It was devastating. Before COVID, it seemed like we could do no wrong. We hit budget month by month. We generated cash. Everything that we did worked. We were kind of swimming with the tide that, legislation was behind us, right place, right time, right company. And then all of a sudden, overnight, our whole industry got shut down, went into lockdown. So as you can appreciate, we collect food waste from the hospitality sector and they were closed. So all of a sudden you see your income evaporating. And bearing in mind that we were trying to do a national expansion from we started in the top of Scotland and we wanted to build a national business because the legislation that would be in place that determines that all businesses must recycle their food waste was meant to come in 2023. And we were cognizant of the fact that you can't just turn up in 2023 and pronounce yourself a national business. We knew we needed to be there at least 2 or 3 years beforehand, so that we could get the depots open, buy the trucks, hire the people, have the right culture, values, everybody understanding what the Keenan way is. That takes time. So as we were expanding, and bear in mind, every time you open up in a new city, it loses money because you start with 0 revenue. You buy 2 trucks, they're £200,000 each. You have to hire at least 2 drivers in case one of them's off, and then you build it up. So we had a plan in place to grow and burn a bit of cash along the way, but it was in the knowledge that It was an upfront investment, which would be a hockey stick when the legislation came in. But what we didn't bargain on was the three once in a lifetime headwinds that came at us in a short space of time, which were COVID, Putin invading Ukraine, and the fallout of Brexit, that we lost so many drivers. So we were,
Yes, that's right.
it was very devastating for the business, as it was a lot of businesses.
I remember that the shortage of drivers, actually,
Yeah.
that hit the news. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was about 100,000 drivers short in the UK. So, before COVID, an HGV wage in our industry was about 24,000 a year. And because of all these things I'm mentioning, the wages have soared now to sort of mid to high 30s, and in the kind of London depots we're up at high 40s. So it's just when you go over 100 drivers, that's a significant increase that in our budget.
Incredible. Yeah, incredible. What is one of the biggest challenges you have in running a business?
I think the world's changed since COVID. If you'd gone back to say 2019 and you'd said to me that one of the biggest barriers to growing your business will be attracting and retaining good staff, and by the way, people won't come to the office anymore, I'd have said that can't be right. So I think now, particularly with HGV drivers, it's not just us, it's anybody running wheels. It's just the laws of supply and demand. It's become a little bit like the gig economy. Drivers aren't with you for a career anymore. They'll do 6 months here, a few months there, and they're all chasing money. They'll jump about quickly. That won't be resolved until there's more drivers in the market. Having said that, we have got drivers that have been with us for 5-10 years. There's a steady stream of them, but in the new areas, it's quite difficult. So that's a challenge. It's the remote working is a big challenge for us. We trebled the size of our office early 2020. We've got a huge office, beautiful office, but can't get anybody to work in it because it's probably about a third full of where it needs to be. The world has changed, so I get that people want to address their work-life balance, and remote working has definitely got a place. But I think for us, trying to bring on younger people into the business, the water cooler chats, the culture, how do you do that when people are isolated at home? So that's a challenge, and not just for us. I think anyone running, decent sized businesses, trying to get people collectively together is an issue.
Yeah. Do you have a policy that they have to be in the office 2 days or 3 days a week, or it's?
No, we've kind of changed now. There's a hard core of employees that like being in the office. They like that coming to work. They've got their work time. They go home. There's that. It's not all melted into one day. So they do that. We've got some that are in 2 or 3 days a week. But what we've started to do now is, rather than say, right, because our head office is in Aberdeen, although we've got 22 depots, the hub is still Aberdeen. So what we said is, right, rather than trying to get employees that we can recruit that can come to the office, we'll just hire anywhere in the UK. If it's collection staff or transport managers or the transport team, where we can set them up with an office at home with a laptop and all the software. And so call center wise, really, the customer doesn't know where somebody answering the phone is. So in some ways, I think we've maybe got a better pool of people to hire from, because Aberdeen, we always struggled with wages being high because of the oil industry and things like that. So we've definitely got a wider pool of people when we put adverts out. But if it was up to me, I would have people in the office, because I think that people fire off each other. There's that collectiveness, and I know we perform better as a company when people are together.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, also you get bonding and ideas flowing. Nothing happens when you're on your own. You need to interact. Yeah, definitely.
No, and I don't think it's any good for mental health for people as well. Everybody knows, isolation is not good for mental health. And, I think the more people are sit at home, I just don't think it's good for the country. People need to be with people and spark off one another. So, I mean, I know KPMG recently did a study, and they think that within 3 or 4 years, the world will go back to the way it was before.
Yeah.
I know companies like Amazon and ironically Zoom, I think, said, right, everybody back in the office.
I like it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I guess if you want to get rid of mental health issues, go to the gym and go to the office, that'll help.
Yeah, that's it. Eat well,
Get out.
diet, exercise. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. So, Grant, what are the? I mean, you've grown from Aberdeen, Scotland. You said you moved to Glasgow, Edinburgh, and then you expanded into the rest of the UK. Now you are nationwide. You've won awards. What's next? What are the plans for the next 5 years? What are the aspirations of the business?
So it's really to reap the rewards of the seeds we've sown. The hardest part of our journey is done now, really, which is getting that national stretch, from what started in a field in Aberdeenshire to, as I said, 22 depots across the UK. So we cover every postcode in Scotland, England, and Wales. There's nowhere the trucks don't go. We had full national coverage by 2020. Regulations were meant to come into England in 2023. They've been postponed because of world events that they will happen in April next year. So that's the hockey stick that we've been waiting for, where the legislation will state that all the restaurants, cafes, hotels, hospitals, prisons, schools, universities, anyone that sells food waste by law will have to recycle it. It does come in two tranches, so bigger businesses go first, and then the small businesses have got with I think it's 10 or less employees. They've got another couple of years to get on board. But the first wave will be in April, so that's a game changer. We're positioned to handle that rise in demand.
Brilliant. Okay. And what if you had to start all over again? What would you have done differently, knowing what you know now?
It's a good question. I used to always joke that I wouldn't have a cream carpet in my boardroom on the compost site. Had to make people take their shoes off, sign quite a few contracts with people sitting in their socks. Do you know what? I don't know. I'm not sure. Probably maybe one of the things I would do is maybe be careful about some of the people that we've kind of promoted beyond their skill set. I think we've maybe been guilty of that in the past, that we've had employees where we've thought, okay, they've got leadership qualities and they can do more and they're ambitious and they've got a bit of something about them and they've been fantastic at operating in a certain level. But we've pushed them a bit harder until they go outside their comfort zone, and then it kind of falls apart. So I'd maybe go a bit slower with the growth of some people, and kind of accept that not everybody can kind of move at the pace that we need to move at in the business. Yeah, I would have educated myself sooner as well, probably. When I think about the hard work, the physical work that I did in mainly, the firewood business and things like that, I would cut the logs, make the kindling, humping bottles of gas about, whilst I was learning without knowing, because I was doing, but it wasn't until I started the recycling company, and then I went on every course I could find about, building successful teams, culture, getting a business to the point where somebody might want to buy it one day, getting, the pillars, everything in place that I didn't really understood that any of that even existed when I was before. So yeah, educate myself sooner would probably be my biggest takeaway.
Brilliant. So on that note, what are some of the books that you've read that had an impact in you, the way you run your business?
Well, Good to Great by Jim Collins, I think really resonated with me. He has the analogy of the bus. getting the right people onto the bus in the right seats and buying into the journey of where the bus is going. That was quite insightful. The Atomic Habits, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich. Quite a lot of these books. I listened to quite a lot of audio books, biographies. Read all the Steve Jobs books, Richard Branson. Quite interested in how other people have done it and try and kind of take away things. Also, I would have probably networked a bit sooner as well. Joined different bodies. I think they're always good for garnering knowledge as well. It's that little cliche, but it's so true about surrounding yourself with good people.
Yes, no, it's networking. There are different organizations out there. But definitely networking is a key one to expand your business, really. In book, you mentioned a book. I mean, all of them you've mentioned, I've read, and they are great books. And the one that changed my life was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Only because it changed the way I thought about money, really, and the quadrant he talks about. And I went into property because of that.
Okay.
20 years ago in Glasgow, and it's been one of the best things I've done. Yeah, so definitely, it's amazing what a book can do in your life. So not to be underestimated. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I think there's even amongst entrepreneurs, there's a lack of awareness of what the best use of money is once you accumulate it. It's quite easy just to spend money on things, liabilities that he speaks about, depreciating assets rather than, things that can actually generate you cash.
Yes.
So it's interesting.
That's one of the things that Robert Kiyosaki says in the book. You have two types of problems: having money and not know what to do with it, and not having money. The two extremes. Yeah. Brilliant. No, that was very good and insightful. If you could spend a day in the life of, who would you choose? Living or dead? It doesn't.
God. Well, that's you've kind of put me on the spot there. Oh God. I don't know. Maybe John Lennon up until the point he got shot.
Interesting. I remember that moment. I was in my teens and in Valencia on the beach on a rainy day, and I got told, John Lennon has died. I said, what? I was a kid. I remember that moment. It's so many years ago. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, shot by Mark Chapman, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many different people, but maybe somebody that's got nothing to do with the kind of area that I'm in. It'd be interesting to see the world through the lens of someone else, with that creativity. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And so just to wrap up, if there was what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
Probably not to worry. I think people worry too much, and studies have shown that 80% of what people worry about doesn't come to fruition, and worrying can't solve any problems. Somebody once said to me, worry is interest paid on a debt not yet due. You're almost running through the what if this happens in my mind, and focus on the things that you can control and don't think about the things that you can't. That would probably be my biggest.
Can you repeat that phrase again? Worry is?
So worry is interest paid on a debt not yet due.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. I didn't know that. Fantastic. Good. Okay. Well, it's been great to have you on board with us today, Grant, on Business Spotlight series, and thank you for sharing with us your journey, being so open and honest. And that's been great to have you on board. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. I've really enjoyed our chat.
Brilliant. All the best.
Okay. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.